The Port Arthur Massacre occurred on April 28, 1996, in Port Arthur, a popular tourist destination in Tasmania, Australia. 29-year-old Martin John Bryant, a man with a history of mental health issues, claimed the lives of 35 individuals and injured 23 others, marking it as the most devastating mass shooting in Australian history.
Martin, do you remember the 28th of April, Sunday the 28th of April, the shoot?
No, I don't. Was that the day I suppose everyone's talking about?
That's the shotgun.
That's a shotgun.
Stay inside, I'm pretty sure someone's got a gun. They can be bloody positive of it.
Should I find the person that holds doors?
I don't find that a very funny statement at all, mate, to be quite honest.
Should have put that on recording.
I'm still recording at this present stage, so that is on recording.
Martin John Bryant grew up in a seemingly normal household, raised by his mother, Carleen Bryant, and his father, Maurice Bryant. Martin Bryant was the couple's first child and was born on May 7, 1967, at the Queen Alexandra Hospital in Hobart, Tasmania. Bryant spent a portion of his childhood at the family's beach house in Carnarvon Bay, even though the family's home was in Lena Valley. In his early years, he displayed signs of mental health issues, including learning disabilities, developmental delays, and difficulties forming social connections. Bryant's mother recalled finding his toys frequently broken when he was young, describing him as an irritating child. Local residents observed odd behaviors from Bryant, such as taking a fellow boy's snorkel while diving and cutting down trees on a neighbor's land. Teachers noted his lack of emotion and detachment from reality. Bryant exhibited disruptive and occasionally violent behavior at school, enduring severe bullying from his peers. Following his suspension from Newtown Primary School in 1977, psychological evaluations revealed instances of animal cruelty. A psychologist predicted that Bryant's interpersonal difficulties would hinder his ability to maintain employment. In 1979, 12-year-old Bryant was admitted to the Royal Hobart Hospital in Tasmania after injuring himself with fireworks. During his hospitalization, he was interviewed by a local TV station.
Going up to the bedroom and I wanted to see, I had this light and I had this coloured skyrocket and I wanted to see if the wick went quick, so I lit it and it went fast and I tried to make it go out but I couldn't, and I broke the stick trying to get out but I couldn't, and it made a hole through my jeans.
You'll be in here for a while longer, won't you?
Yeah, about a week.
Do you think you'll be playing with firecrackers anymore?
Yes.
Don't you think you've learned a lesson from this?
Yes, but I'm still playing with it.
Observations of Bryant's conduct during his teenage years suggest ongoing disturbance and the potential presence of an intellectual disability. Upon leaving school in 1983, he underwent evaluation for a disability pension, with a psychiatrist stating, quote, "Limited literacy, engages in gardening and television viewing. Only parental intervention prevents further decline. Possible schizophrenia diagnosis. Parents face uncertain prospects with him." Bryant supplemented his income with employment as a handyman and gardener while receiving disability benefits. In early 1987, while seeking clients for his lawn care business, Bryant, then 19, crossed paths with Helen Mary Elizabeth Harvey, an heiress to a portion of the Tattersall's lottery fortune. Bryant formed a friendship with Harvey, who resided with her mother Hilza. Bryant frequently visited their dilapidated mansion in Newtown, assisting with tasks such as caring for the 40 cats and 14 dogs residing in their garage. Helen extended an invitation for Bryant to reside with her in the mansion, leading to a spree of extravagant spending where they purchased over 30 brand-new cars within a span of less than 3 years. The duo developed a routine of frequent shopping trips, often following lunches at a nearby restaurant. Around the same time, Bryant's pension underwent review, with documentation containing a note stating, quote, "Father shields him from situations that could provoke him as he frequently expresses violent threats. Martin mentioned his desire to engage in shooting people. It would be risky to release Martin from his parents' supervision. Bryant and Harvey made a move to Torresville, a 72-acre farm purchased by Harvey in Copping, a small township. According to locals who stopped by to purchase apples from a roadside vendor, Bryant would frequently use his air gun to shoot at them, and during late-night hours, he would wander through nearby properties, shooting at dogs that barked at him. Despite his attempts at befriending them, neighbors avoided him at all costs. Tragically, on October 20th, 1992, Harvey lost her life in a car accident when her vehicle veered onto the wrong side of the road and collided head-on with another car. Bryant sustained significant injuries to his neck and back while inside the car during the collision and spent 7 months recovering in the hospital. Authorities briefly investigated his involvement in the accident due to Bryant's reputation for lunging at the wheel, coupled with Harvey's history of being involved in 3 previous accidents. Following Harvey's passing, Bryant was named the sole beneficiary in her will, inheriting assets totaling over 550,000 Australian dollars. Maurice, Bryant's father, assumed responsibility for managing the Copping farm after Harvey's demise. Upon leaving the hospital, Bryant returned to the family home to recuperate. Maurice had been prescribed antidepressant medication, and he covertly transferred their shared bank account and utilities into his wife's name. 2 months later, on August 14, 1993, a visitor searching for Maurice at the Copping property stumbled upon a note attached to the door instructing them to notify the authorities. They uncovered several $1,000s inside Maurice's car. Authorities categorized the death as unnatural and concluded that Maurice had taken his own life. Bryant inherited the proceeds of his father's superannuation fund, totaling 250,000 Australian dollars. Following this, Bryant sold the Copping farm for 143,000 Australian dollars while retaining ownership of the Newtown mansion. With solitude settling in, Bryant's attire took a turn. He frequently sported an electric blue suit with flared trousers and a ruffled shirt to his favored restaurant. The proprietor remembered the scene, stating, quote, "It was distressing. Everyone, including the patrons, laughed at him. I suddenly felt a pang of sympathy. It dawned on me that this man truly had no companions." Bryant's sense of isolation deepened after the passing of his father and Harvey. Between 1993 and late 1995, he went on 14 trips to various foreign countries, experiencing the same loneliness abroad as he did at home in Tasmania. Bryant found solace in conversing with fellow passengers during flights, who were obliged to be courteous. He later delighted in reminiscing about some of his most meaningful interactions with other travelers. Although he abstained from alcohol on the day of the Port Arthur Massacre, Bryant's alcohol consumption surged from his customary social drinking level, particularly in the 6 months leading up to his attack. Bryant's first victims, David and Noeline Martin, owned the bed and breakfast guest house called Seascape. Bryant's father frequently complained to Bryant about the harm that had been done to his family because of Martin's purchasing of the bed and breakfast that his father had wished to buy. Bryant apparently believed the Martins had bought the property to hurt his family out of spite, and blamed the Martins for the depression that led to his father taking his life. He fatally shot the Martins in the guest house, then stole their weapons and the Seascape keys before traveling to the Port Arthur site. Beginning at the Broad Arrow Cafe, carrying a large blue duffel bag, Bryant began opening fire, killing 12 people and wounding 10. He then continued his rampage, targeting people at various locations within Port Arthur, resulting in the death of another 8 people while wounding 2 more. He changed magazines before fleeing, shooting at people in the car park and from his yellow Volvo 244 car as he drove away. 4 were killed, and an additional 6 were injured. A mom and her 2 children were walking when Bryant drove 300 meters down the road to where they were. The mother and the child she was carrying were killed when he stopped and fired 2 shots. The older child ran away, but Bryant pursued her and shot her dead quickly. He then murdered the 4 people inside a gold BMW before stealing it. Shortly after, He approached a couple driving a white Toyota, pulled his gun, and ordered the male driver into the trunk of the BMW. He closed the trunk and then fired 2 rounds into the Toyota's windscreen, killing the female driver. Bryant returned to the guest house, set the stolen car on fire, and took his hostage inside, where he had left the Martins' corpses. The police were able to communicate with Bryant for many hours after they arrived, and tried to bargain with him before his phone's battery died, and the call was cut off. Bryant simply asked to be flown to an airport in an Army helicopter. Bryant then killed his captive while they were negotiating. He lit the guest house on fire the following morning, 18 hours later, and tried to flee in the commotion. Suffering burns to his back and buttocks, Bryant was captured and taken to Royal Hobart Hospital, where he was treated and kept under heavy guard. Once released from the hospital, Martin Bryant was held in custody, awaiting his trial. During his imprisonment, Bryant's mental health came under scrutiny. Diagnosed with various psychiatric disorders, including possible intellectual disability and possible Asperger's syndrome, his state of mind became a focal point of the legal proceedings. However, Bryant was judged competent to stand trial. Martin Bryant's trial began on November 7, 1996, and was held in the Supreme Court of Tasmania. Despite overwhelming evidence against him, Bryant initially entered a plea of not guilty. However, as the trial progressed and the weight of the evidence became undeniable, he changed his plea to guilty on all charges. This plea change brought a swift conclusion to the trial, sparing the victims' families the additional anguish of a prolonged legal process. On November 22, 1996, Martin Bryant was sentenced to 35 life sentences plus 1,652 years in prison without the possibility of parole. During the initial 8 months of his incarceration, Bryant was confined to a specially designed cell aimed at preventing suicide, where he experienced nearly complete isolation. He remained under protective custody for his own well-being until November 13, 2006, when he was transferred to the Wilfred Lopes Center in Hobart, a secure mental health facility managed by the Tasmanian Department of Health and Human Services. On March 25, 2007, Bryant made a suicide attempt by cutting his wrist with a razor blade. 2 days later, on March 27th, he attempted suicide again by slashing his throat with another razor blade and was briefly hospitalized. Currently, Bryant is housed in Risdon Prison, a maximum security facility near Hobart.